Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I was at the supermarket buying groceries for Sunday breakfast, eggs, pancake batter, bacon and bread when I saw a homeless man taking a few things off the shelf. I reached the counter and the homeless man was 2 places ahead of me. He was buying some milk, cereals and bread, and he didn't have enough money and was using coins. So I told the cashier that I will pay for him and asked him to add a few more items like eggs, some biscuits, instant noodles and so on. He was really happy and thanked me continuously. Then he went to his cart and started eating. I was still in line when the person who was in between me and the homeless person got her stuff scanned and packed and started to go without paying. The cashier was confused and, in a loud tone, asked her to stop. She looked furious and confused when he asked her to pay. She told her that the person behind her, aka me, will be paying for her groceries just like I did for the homeless sir. I was listening to music but stopped when I heard her entitlement falling from her mouth. I gave her a confused look and by now she was the center of attraction. She yelled and said that since I paid for him, I will have to pay for her too. Otherwise, it's not right. Now I paid around $5, 400 Indian rupees, for his stuff. This lady was not getting a thing or two. She was buying like most exotic meats, eggs, flavored milks, and her total was around 4,800 rupees, around $60. Now, since I had a few stuff, I got the cashier to scan my stuff. I paid for mine and went out in a hurry. But this lady thought it was a good idea to grab my bag and not let me go and make me pay for her. The cashier asked me if I wanted to call the police, and I nodded my head to a yes. The lady seemed to evolve a superpower and left in a second like a flash, leaving her stuff behind. The cashier told me that this lady does this often. She's a well-off lady living in a 2-story apartment and is a really entitled person and thinks everyone owes her. She has been jailed for 6 months and 2 months as well. So yesterday my husband and I were at Target with our 5-year-old daughter. My old vacuum broke, so we went for a new one. My husband, being the witty person he is, placed a new one in the cart and said, "Happy Mother." I just laughed at this. Then this woman came out of nowhere yelling at my husband saying that he's a horrible man and a bad father for giving me such a sexist gift. I've had my run-in with Karens before, but the fact she was yelling in front of my daughter and verbally attacking my husband that way, I was about to lose my crap on her when my sweet daughter looked at me and loudly said, "Mommy, I think she needs a timeout." The Karen went bright red and quickly walked away. My husband and I started laughing our butts off. Bless a child's innocence. Details. So I'm 19 and I look a few years younger. I look maybe around 16 at most. My little sister also looks younger, but she's in fact 7. But she looks 5. I guess it's a gene thing in our family to look younger than our age. Because of this, I have constant people asking for my ID even if they are not employees. Normally, to quench their undying thirst of curiosity, I would just show them and leave. Okay, story time. So I was taking my sister to the mall with me, mom's wishes, and we were having a great time. We bought cute clothes for me and my sister and ate delicious pizza at the food court. Around 3:30 we realized we should probably be heading home. We headed for the door, but we were stopped by a woman in her 40s. She did not have a child but a husband who looked prepared for something bad to happen. And here is how it went down. "Excuse me, miss, but is that your daughter? You look too young to have a daughter." By the way, me and my sister get this a lot, so we thought it would be funny if I said yes for once. "Well, yes, it's my daughter. She was an accident, but definitely not a mistake." I kissed her head to make it somewhat believable. "I'm sure a kid like you wants an older mommy. A mommy who can care for you properly." My sister started stepping behind me because Well, she got nervous. What? We will take her off your hands. You seem too busy with school to have a daughter anyways. I was shocked a stranger would ever say that to anyone. I thought this was literally a prank. Are you joking? This has to be like an experiment or something, right? Are you making fun of me? Her husband says, please ignore my wife. We've been trying to get a child, but it hasn't been working. We cannot adopt. Sorry, we don't want your child. Yes, we do. At this point, I looked down and saw this psycho trying to grab my sister from behind me. Come here, sweetie. It's okay. Mommy's here. Okay, joke's over. I am her older sister. Her real mom is 40 and is at home. Get away before I call the police. I'm sure your mom won't mind. I ended up calling the police. I couldn't believe this was actually happening. The woman ended up grabbing my sister and running to her car, but the security and husband were able to stop her. The police showed up and arrested her on spot, and I definitely pressed charges. Who the hell would actually do that? I swear I thought that was a TV show prank. It was so unrealistic until the woman actually grabbed my sister. I worked for a while at a fast food restaurant in a major city. One of my co-workers had the same last name as me. It is a relatively common Irish name. Our family spelled it differently though. Shane, my co-worker, sold weed in addition to doing deliveries for the restaurant. Shane was a really nice, chill guy. I was always the first to jump in and give someone a hand, even if it wasn't his job. So everyone liked him. I'm working the register one day when two police detectives came in. They literally flipped their coats open to show me their badges, which I thought was a thing that only happened in movies. Detective 1 says, does anyone named Sean, our shared last name, work here? I know they have been looking for Shane, but he's a nice guy. So I tell them my last name. The other detective says, we're actually looking for a Sean. I smile politely with a long pause after. Do you know anyone named Sean? Yeah, I have a cousin named Sean. The detectives are suddenly more interested. One of them says, when did you see him last? About a week ago. He doesn't work here? Nope. We were told he works here. Does he work at a different restaurant? Me watches out the window as my coworker Shane ride away on his bike to make a delivery. No. I mean, I could check with my aunt, but I don't think so. He's still in school. And where does he go to school? Middle school. Both detectives stare at me. So, I stare back. Does anyone named Sean work here? No. They give me a business card to give to my manager, and they leave. Then I text Shane, hey, I think a couple of cops were here looking for you. I was 20 at the time and definitely too much of a whim to lie to the police, but I never had to. Everything I told him was 100% true. I do have a cousin named Sean, and no one named Sean worked at that restaurant. This is just a small malicious compliance to save some food, but I think it's pretty interesting, so enjoy. So I work at a gas station as a cashier, usually early mornings on weekends. Our station has a lot of food in store that's packaged like chocolate bars, drinks and so on. But since the prices are so high, most of our stock expires before we can sell it and we have to throw it away. Besides the packaged foods and drinks, we also serve pre-made sandwiches and other pastries which can only be made and sold in one day and needs to be thrown away at the end of the day. Unsurprisingly, prices for those items are even higher, and so they are rarely sold and we throw away kilograms of food every single evening. I asked my boss if we could just eat it after it needs to be thrown away because it's still good food, but health regulations just say we can sell them after a couple hours laying in the fridge. My boss said no because he doesn't trust us to not make food in the evening just for us to eat. I countered with the idea of just putting these items on sale before we throw them away so we don't have to pay half of our hourly wage or more on a sandwich and customers could save it for a less price. My boss declined again, saying that we can't do that either for some reason. I asked if we could donate everything in the evening to homeless people in the area, and he said no. So Cue my malicious compliance. I've made it my duty to now remove everything from the store as soon as it expires, and even made a list for my colleagues to look up when things expire. No, we did not do that before. It just lay there on the shelves until someone found it. With that, every shelf has now empty holes without stock. And my boss's office is full with expired stuff because she needs to check every item to make sure none of us is eating it. I've taken my time to add up the amount of food we threw out in just a week. 10 kilograms of fresh sandwiches, 6 kilograms of small packaged snacks, and over 20 bottles of soft drinks. And I calculated that over $400 worth of food went to the trash in half a week because we didn't discount them. I've asked a lot of customers about their opinion to implement such a discount to reduce the waste of food, and I just got positive responses. My boss, however, was not happy that I talked about problems with customers and got pretty mad at me. I showed her the numbers I calculated and what we could potentially earn with a discount of 20% based on the customers' opinions I got when talking to them. The majority of them will buy more to save food, and with a discount, they would much rather buy something. My boss was too stunned to speak when I told her that she's losing thousands of dollars a month to the trash can, but since it wasn't his idea, he's rather losing the money than admitting that I am right. I've been doing all my shopping online, from groceries to clothes to everything, which means I usually get a lot of deliveries. I also buy a lot of stuff for my family to use, especially groceries and basic necessities. I started buying from more small local businesses. Being the pandemic and me wanting to help them more instead of big businesses like Amazon, this has meant having to deal with incredibly vague or straight up wrong delivery information. I've worked at a small business before, so I expected these problems and don't mind it. Cue a few weeks ago. Mom doesn't work anymore, sis is on a term break, and I am working from home having a meeting. A delivery comes and no one answers the door. I have my headphones on so I can't hear the bell. The delivery man calls me and tells me he has been ringing the door and no one is answering, even though he can hear the TV. I apologize and run out to collect the parcel. Seeing my mom in front of the telly with so much indifference. This made me mildly annoyed, and I asked her nicely to help open the door next time. Immediately she screams at me for assuming she has nothing to do, which sets off the shouting match between her and I. My sister comes out of her room, takes my mother's side and shouts at me for being rude, just for expecting my mother to answer the door. At this point, I am livid, and I ask if it's too much to expect my own family to help with these things, especially when I'm working. They both go on about how it's my personal responsibility to collect my own deliveries and that I should not take for granted that they will help just because they are at home, and that I should tell them when I have deliveries coming, to which I try to explain about the often vague delivery estimates I get. This one in particular was supposed to come 2 days later. I point out to them that most of the deliveries that come for me end up being shared by the family, i.e. the groceries, coffee, necessities, and so on. That at the start of the year before my mom quit her job, I was working from home alone collecting everyone's deliveries, even when no one tells me about any incoming ones. I singled out one day my sister had 4 deliveries and I collected them all with no complaints. But obviously none of it gets through to them and I give up the argument since I was outnumbered. Bring on the MC. I stopped ordering groceries for the whole family and food runs out. Both mom and sis just assume that I would order more, and when I don't, they question me about it and I tell them that it's their own personal responsibility to get their own groceries. A couple of deliveries came for my sister when she wasn't home and I didn't bother receiving it because the personal responsibility was hers to collect. Plus, she didn't tell anyone about them. Turns out one of those deliveries was a laptop and because no one answered the door, it was left outside and got stolen. My sister got rightfully angry at me and my mother, but I used their nonsense personal responsibility excuse back on her. Now no one is talking to each other, but I don't care. I feel like I've willingly and readily helped them, but when I asked for help in return, it's way too much for them to do so. This might be petty as hell, but screw it. It's the card they chose to play. Edit. Thank you all for the words of support. I did not expect this to blow up the way it did. Wow. And thank you for the awards too. I'll answer some common questions with this edit. Over here, couriers give you the option to allow them to leave the package at your door. It is an explicit opt-in you must do, and I guess my sister chose that for her laptop. Joke's on her for choosing that for such an expensive item. She made a police report about it, but the courier won't do anything because, well, she gave them explicit permission to leave it at the door. They have photo and video proof of delivery that they even provided. My mom isn't old or has a hearing loss. If she was, I wouldn't expect her to be receiving deliveries. We don't live in a dangerous area. Not opening doors is actually uncommon here. My mom, however, expects everyone else to do it for some reason. Moving out and being in a toxic environment. Well, I used to think a lot of this was in my head, and that I was just letting it all get to me. Thank you all for helping me see that it wasn't, and that my family has been emotionally abusive. It took a lot for me to draw that line, but I guess something snapped in me and gave me the courage. I'm actively looking for a place and my best friend deals with property. She's helping me keep an eye out for good places to move to. Unfortunately, because of COVID, the rental market has become a crap show, with landlords taking advantage of foreigners stuck here. Again, thank you all for the encouragement and support. It really means a lot to me. Edit 2. Also, yes, gotta agree with one Redditor that we all ended up as losers in this. But I'm loving the peace I've gotten from being left alone too.
And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.